Imagine a future where the very foundation of the U.S. economy begins to crack under the weight of its own shrinking population. It's not science fiction, it's happening now, and it's about to get worse. America is barreling toward what experts are calling a demographic cliff, a precipice that could reshape everything from higher education to workforce dynamics, healthcare systems, and even small-town survival. The question isn't just whether we'll fall off this cliff, but how far down it will take us. The roots of this crisis trace back to 2007, when a U.S. birth rate hit its peak with over 4.3 million babies born that year. Since then, the numbers have steadily declined, reaching a 30-year low in 2017 and dropping further to just 3.6 million births last year. Now, those same babies born in 2007 are turning 18, stepping into adulthood and entering college or the job market. But here's the catch. Every subsequent year means fewer new students for colleges and fewer workers for businesses. This gradual yet relentless drop-off is already sending shockwaves through industries like agriculture and healthcare, which were already struggling with labor shortages. And if projections hold true, by 2032, the combination of retiring baby boomers and dwindling demographics could leave the U.S. short 6 million workers, a staggering figure that underscores the severity of the problem. But here's where it gets controversial. Can anything actually reverse this trend? Politicians and policymakers are floating ideas like cash incentives for parents and expanded parental leave programs. But experts warn these measures alone won't be enough to turn the tide. For example, Donald Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill promises $1,000 investment accounts for each newborn between 2024 and 2028. While such initiatives might sound appealing, they're unlikely to significantly boost birth rates, according to Wafa Orman, a labor economist at the University of Alabama in Huntsville. Social incentives help, she explains, but they don't address deeper societal shifts driving the decline in fertility. Things like delayed marriage, increased access to contraception, and women prioritizing education and careers over starting families early. And this is the part most people miss. Population decline isn't just an American issue, it's a global one. According to a report from the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, UNDESCA, fertility rates below 2 children per woman are becoming the norm worldwide. High-income countries are particularly affected as women delay childbirth due to career aspirations and financial pressures. But even in lower-income nations, family sizes are shrinking. In India, for instance, where marriage is nearly universal, birth rates are still falling. So is there any hope for reversing course? Colleges and universities find themselves on the front lines of this demographic battle. With fewer high school graduates entering the pipeline, institutions must rethink their strategies to stay afloat, or risk shutting down altogether. Already, parts of the U.S., especially the Northeast, are feeling the strain. 11 of the 31 colleges that closed in 2024 were located in this region, and predictions suggest up to 80 more closures by 2029. When schools shut their doors, the ripple effects devastate local economies. Take Wells College in upstate New York, for example. Its closure left the tiny village of Aurora without a quarter of its volunteer firefighters and saddled residents with a $200,000 bill to keep the water treatment plant running, a service the college had provided for over a century. Even when schools manage to survive, the impact on students can be devastating. Research shows that less than half of displaced students re-enroll elsewhere after a college shuts down. Of those who do, only about 37% complete their degrees. Beyond individual setbacks, rural communities face broader consequences. Smaller campuses often cut program offerings, leaving underserved populations with even fewer educational opportunities. This creates a vicious cycle. Fewer post-secondary options mean lower enrollment, which leads to reduced economic mobility and diminished job prospects. By 2031, Georgetown University estimates that 72% of U.S. jobs will require some form of post-secondary training, making this gap all the more alarming. So what happens next? Economists warn that the demographic cliff will strain the entire U.S. economy, not just academia. A recent Congressional Budget Office (CBO) report predicts that by 2033, deaths will outnumber births, leading to a smaller, older-skewing population. Japan offers a sobering preview of what this might look like. Once the world's third-largest economy, Japan has seen its GDP shrink by more than 20% since 2021, largely due to a plummeting birth rate and aging workforce. Could the U.S. follow suit? There are studies showing that the difference in economic growth between the U.S. and Japan can be entirely attributed to demographics, says Orman. If so, America's innovation engine could sputter as well, given that younger generations tend to drive creativity and progress. Now here's the silver lining, or at least a glimmer of hope. Some institutions are finding ways to adapt. The University Locale Montana, for instance, faced a 40% enrollment drop between 2011 and 2019. Instead of folding, the school pivoted to attract non-traditional students through partnerships with community colleges and regional employers. By focusing on retention and personalized support, the university achieved 8 consecutive semesters of enrollment growth and boosted retention rates above the national average. Other schools may need to adopt similar multi-pronged approaches to weather the storm. Employers and communities aren't immune to these changes either. As the labor pool shrinks, companies will need to innovate to maximize productivity with fewer workers. Automation, remote work, and skills development programs could play key roles in bridging the gap. Meanwhile, cities and towns reliant on colleges for economic vitality will need to diversify their revenue streams. Ultimately, solving this crisis requires long-term thinking and bold action. Expanding immigration pathways could provide immediate relief, though political hurdles abound. Until then, adaptation remains the name of the game. As Nathan Grau, an economics professor at Carleton College, puts it, a 15% decline in enrollments is challenging, but is happening gradually, giving institutions time to adjust. What do you think? Is slower economic growth inevitable? Or can the U.S. find a way to thrive despite its shrinking population? Share your thoughts in the comments below.